As somebody who's from the Middle Belt Plateau, to be very precise, I feel that an El Rufai being like a merger with him and Peter Obi is going to be atrocious, to say the least, because El Rufai's antecedents, I don't think I have to go over it over and over again. It's just there are certain things that I've been privy to hearing. I can't say on the space, in rooms, in conversations with friends, people who tend to know things that tend to happen in bigger spaces, bigger political spaces. And El Rufai is not the kind of person that understands being relegated to the back. He's so pompous and so arrogant and feels like he ought to be the one. If there's even going to be a merger, he ought to be the one who's going to fill that space. And so by virtue of his antecedents and his personality, I don't think it's a good fit, number one. Peter Obi is going to be relegated. The treatment Shetima is currently receiving is what he's going to receive. And that would make me not even want to vote him. And I would galvanize people from my place not to vote him, not to vote Peter Obi. It's that simple. I'm not necessarily a fan of Tinubu. I went through a 2-month depression period when Tinubu was sworn in here. So, however, because of what Tinubu, what we've managed to enjoy under Tinubu, I would stick with him. The number one reason, and you might call me selfish, but there's something I actually run by. Nigerians and experience Nigeria based on, their region or where they come from. If you speak to a Fulani man or a Hausa man, his experience with Nigeria would most likely be nice because they're always in the seat of power. If you speak to an Igbo person, they would have very, very hurtful experiences because of the way Nigeria has marginalized them. If you speak to a Southerner, there's a lot of comfort when you're talking with them. We speak with a Niger Deltan. There's marginalization, but they have the cards because the oil that we have is deposited in their land. So everybody tends to experience Nigeria based on, their power, the power and the relevance shared by region. So by this very dynamic, as a Middle Beltan, I can't play with my life. Tinubu hasn't necessarily done anything much for me, but at least people in my villages are going back. People who are in IDP camps are being replaced in their own lands, in their houses. They're going back to sleep there. For the first time in a very long time, a Southern Kaduna man is actually chief of staff. I know it doesn't necessarily mean anything, but it just means that we are even being seen. The kind of suffering that our people suffered when Buhari was in power, it was so blatant that they literally call you vermin. They treat you like vermin too. So if I'm going to stay with somebody who, yes, by every metric has made my life miserable based on how the Naira is falling every day, the inability to get basic things accessible to myself and my family, as opposed to even being alive and allowing me to even have a level playing ground, I think I'll stick with Bulaba. I will stick with Bulaba by all means. We recently just had an exam where they were saying something about Seplat or the NNPC. I know a friend who's from Benin who told me that for the first time in her life since Buhari left, people from Delta and Edo were actually getting slots, and it wasn't manipulated. Southerners were actually getting in. As opposed to what Buhari was doing, where if you enter one government parastatal, you're just hearing Hausa, they're doing lulubi everywhere. You have to dress a certain way. You have to speak a certain way. You have to act a certain way. That's not what a country is. So, if we're going to go by the way we have experienced Nigeria, I would wholeheartedly vote for Tinubu to stay in that place, just so that I can preserve my life. It's about self-preservation, just like the Wu-Tang Clan say. It's about preservation. At this point, we're not even looking for anybody who is going to give us power. We just want to live. That's it. That's the long and short of the whole story. We just want to live. So I know that the dynamics on that table are very, very uneasy. And Middle Beltans saying that they don't want to vote Bulaba. They don't want to vote Rufai and they're going to run away with their votes. It's not because they are saying it because they want to, give off some sort of streak of arrogance or anything. It's just because we've seen the light already. We know what this man can actually do. So for us at this point, it's more about self-preservation. It has nothing to do with the fact that we want to show that, we have the numbers or anything. We're just afraid for our lives. Our people can actually sleep and wake up. They can go to farms. They register huge harvest, at least in the last 2 years, and people have tried, like the farming, the numbers when you consider produce and output, it's significantly improved. So when people are talking about people like Rufai, I feel like he's even, it's not to say that you should undermine who he is, but I don't feel like in the grand scheme of things somebody like this should be brought in. He is a very cancerous human being. He's so cancerous. He's bad news. So if Peter Obi really wants to ruin his chances, I think if he goes for the Rufai option, he's really going to suffer a huge political blow. He's better off finding somebody else with less dirt on them. Honestly, you can even pick Ganduje. I mean, Ganduje only stuffs dollars in his pocket. What does he even know? Does he even have the intelligence to plan that kind of, clandestine operation, laying, plans years ahead for him to be able to, emerge as president? You can pick somebody, just anybody, to be honest. We already don't even have good people in the country, so you might as well just go with the lesser evil. But Rufai, no, you don't go with a terrorist who is educated. You don't. We saw how he fought with, David Hundein and the whole Oxford, ordeal that went down. This is somebody who has that reach. Like, he's that guy. So if you're going to fight him, you better not even bring him into the party. And I think Tinubu is actually intelligent for spotting who he is, because the moment Tinubu outlined him, I think he was even safe. Things are even still dangerous with Rufai out of the dynamic, but it would have been way much worse if Rufai was, within his government. He will just see things sinking. He's that kind of person. You just see things sinking, and you don't know that he's like the one playing those cards. He's a very, very good puppeteer. So when you're dealing with somebody like this, especially someone who's that educated, do not give them the leg by bringing them into your camp. Leave them where they are. They can cause damage, but very little damage. Do not bring them into your camp. I think Peter should be smarter than that, and I believe he really is. So honestly, as a Middle Beltan, our stance is still going to remain. It's either Bulaba remains there and we continue to just manage him like, a broken down car on the road, than for us to actually fully enter the fire with Rufai. Because please, I have family that I still love, and people are dying in their 30s. I don't want hypertension to kill me. Thank you. Good.
I felt cold. I was shiver while listening to that lady speak. Nigerians have been humbled. Nigerians have been degraded. Nigerians have been reduced to nothing, to the point that the only thing they desire from their government is their ability for them to live. All Nigerians want is to live. They don't care about good governance. They don't care about good road. They don't care about schools, hospitals, employment, and the rest things that come with the dividends of democracy. All they want to do is to live. This is a very trying moment in the life of Nigerians. Perception matters a lot, especially when it comes to leadership. Nigeria is a multi-complex, multi-religious, multi-ethnic nation. Whoever becomes the president in this country is very, very important, is vital. And whoever sits in Aso Rock send a signal that will determine how the citizens will behave. When President Muhammadu Buhari was in office for 8 years, it sent a signal across to the Hausa Fulanis. During President Muhammadu Buhari regime, it was a period that we experienced the rise of terrorists masquerading as Fulani herdsmen in the Middle Belt, in the Northwest, and some part of the Northeast. These terrorists masquerading as Fulani herdsmen carry out ethnic cleansing in the Middle Belt and in southern Kaduna. Farmers were killed in their numbers in the Middle Belt. People were ransacked from their homes. Houses were destroyed in southern Kaduna. It was just like it was an everyday occurrence in southern Kaduna. People were being killed in their number. The governor in Kaduna then was Rufai. He was a Muslim. His deputy was also a Muslim. And of course, this sent a signal out. That signal empowered Muslim terrorists to carry out ethnic cleansing in southern Kaduna. The governor did absolutely nothing to save the people of southern Kaduna. And his son was equally on Twitter, making mockery of the people of southern Kaduna, promising them more ethnic cleansing. But have you noticed something? That the killing in southern Kaduna has stopped automatically. I have not heard any killing in southern Kaduna ever since President Muhammadu Buhari left office. As a matter of fact, the governor in Kaduna State, Sani Uba, was quoted as saying, for 20 months, there have been no killing in southern Kaduna. Why exactly has the killing suddenly stopped? The signal has changed. Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the president. He is a Southerner. And the people who were carrying out that killing, they know that if they do anything of such, the person in power will come after them, even though we know he will not go after them. because we equally experience ethnic cleansing in the Middle Belt, and the president is yet to do anything about it. But in all of this, you will notice that the atrocious activities of the Fulani herdsmen has reduced. It is unlike what we used to experience under President Muhammadu Buhari. The reason is simple. The signal that is coming from Aso Rock has changed because a sultana is in power. If another person gets into Aso Rock, the same signal will equally change. It will change for bad, it will change for good, depending on who is sitting there. That is why this lady is crying. That is why she is lamenting. Because of the signal Rufai sent while he was a governor in Kaduna State, this lady does not want to see him as a president of Nigeria or even as a VP. She believed that if Rufai ascend power at the national level, is going to send that same signal that they experienced in Kaduna State across the country. And I agreed with her. First of all, I have said it that Rufai does not have any electoral value to win an election in Nigeria. He cannot even win Kaduna State where he governed. Rufai is a conservative Muslim. He is a terrorist sympathizer. For someone that governed Kaduna State for 8 years and terrorists reigned supreme in Kaduna State and he did absolutely nothing about it, is he the kind of person you all want to become the president in Nigeria? Maybe you are all not aware. During the post-election crisis in 2011, Kaduna State was one of the states that experienced that post-election crisis. That post-election crisis was a terrorist-like operation. Innocent Nigerians were killed. Youth corpers were killed in Kaduna State because a so-called Muslim lost an election. Kaduna State is one of the home states of President Muhammadu Buhari. Rufai have said it severally. Currently, President Muhammadu Buhari is living in Kaduna State now. The reason is because of the signal they sent across. Just like Buhari, Rufai has no business becoming the president of a multi-complex, multi-religious, multi-ethnic country like Nigeria. He is not a liberal. He is too conservative in his thinking. He is a conservative Muslim that care about the tenets, the ethics, the principles of Muslim, even if he do not sit down well with other part of the country. As long as Muslims are happy, Rufai don't care if the whole nation burn. I sincerely hope that Mr. P2B is aware of the kind of person Rufai is and will not go into any alliance with him. If Peter Obi should make the mistake of going into any alliance with Rufai, he's going to lose his goodwill that he enjoyed with Nigerians in 2023. He will lose his credibility. He will lose all his political goodwill. Whatever he enjoyed in 2023 is still intact with him, and the obedient are willing to give it to him ahead of the 2027. But he should be very careful with who he go into alliance with. I know he have said it severally that he is not desperate to be president. Going into an alliance with a character like Rufai is an act of desperation. Of course, Rufai can support him to become president, but he should never in his life think of becoming a vice president or making Rufai a vice president to whatever ticket he is going to fly in 2027. That will be dead on arrival. I have said it and I will say it again. You heard the lady say it, that she preferred to go with a southern candidate. I have told you that when it comes to voting and thinking alike, the people from the middle belt, they think the same way with the southerner. Most Nigerians will prefer Bola Ahmed Tinubu to continue in office than to allow a northerner to become the president. Someone made a comment in one of the videos I made that anybody but Tinubu, as long as it's a northerner that become the president, all they want is to see Tinubu go. No, bro. We don't want a northerner as president ahead of Tinubu in 2027. It is going to change the perception in this country. It is going to change the dynamics in this country. It will send a wrong signal. What Nigerians experience under President Buhari is what they will never want to experience again. It is so unfortunate that while other nations are advancing in tech and in other aspects of human endeavors, Nigerians just want to be safe and live in their own country. We are not fighting a war. Why are we scared of our life more than people that are fighting wars? It's because of the kind of people we entrust power to. Look at what Tinubu is doing. We want to correct that mess in 2027. But it will never be a northerner, not to even talk of Rufai as a president or as a vice president. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.